Yeah. Welcome to the Adventures Club of Los Angeles. My name is Rich Mayfield, member 1211. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm joined tonight by Marc Weitz, member, what is it?
1144.
1144. Welcome. Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for
past
having
president
me.
of the club, and now you're back.
Yeah, I'm always excited to come back and visit the club when I'm in town.
So you're here tonight to talk about an adventure that I love how your adventure starts. You wanted to go see a minaret.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us what a minaret is, which minaret you wanted to see, and why you wanted to see it?
There's the Minaret of Jam, which sits squarely in the middle of Afghanistan on this, it's remote, on this very difficult route. I had seen it in doing my research for my trip to Afghanistan, and it became an E-Day fix for me. It's something I had to do and get to, especially the more and more I looked into it. It's really out there. It's 800 years old. It's stunningly beautiful, as you will see, and just, as I said, absolutely in the middle of nowhere. So that became my quest for this trip as I looked into it.
I always thought that type of deal is a good anchor point for a trip. You got all the other stuff you're seeing. You're gonna experience things along the way, but you have an anchor. I'm going to see the Minaret of Jam, right? Mm-hmm. And what about this? You said it's 800 years old. Why'd they build something in the middle of nowhere? What's the deal with that?
So the history behind it is a little bit unknown as to why it was built. And it's amazing that it stood for 800 years, given that all the earthquakes and the wars, and it sits at the confluence of two rivers. One of them's a major river in Afghanistan. So it was built by the Mughal Empire, and they think it was built between 1180 and 1200. They don't know why exactly. They think it was to celebrate a victory of the armies in that area, but they're not sure. There was some archaeological work done on it, but it's been sort of start and stop given the history in Afghanistan. There are periods of war when they weren't allowed to work anymore. So it's a mystery as to what it's there for, and you'll see the pictures later. The design is gorgeous. It's about 200 feet tall, 62 meters, and it's covered with script, some of it from the Quran.
And how did you find out about this?
Pictures. I saw some pictures.
You saw a picture, and you're like, I have to go.
I have to go. So, and especially when I got to Kabul. So the idea of this trip wasn't set in stone. I basically knew I was going to Afghanistan. I wanted to rent a motorbike and ride it across Afghanistan. And I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I could do it by this route, if it was possible. One of the reasons was the only bike I could rent there was a local 150cc bike. There was nothing bigger than that. And this being the Hindu Kush Mountains, there were several passes I had to get over that were 12,000 feet. And most of the route was not paved. So I'd be doing this in dirt and sand. I didn't know if the bike would make it. I didn't know if I had the motorcycle skills to make it. On top of that,
this is the bike.
That's the bike. It's called a Super 2 fan, and it's made in Herat, which was the city I ended up in western Afghanistan. They cost $800 new. I rented it for $20 a day. And anyway, so I got to Kabul, and the hotel I was staying at had pictures of the minaret. And I'm just like,
but this is there's no other way to get to this minaret. Like, this is not you can't take a tour bus there.
There's no tour bus. I did see online there is a group that'll take you there in a 4x4, I think, every once in a while. Mm-hmm. But it's several days to get out there. It is very difficult to get to. You can't go there with a normal car. Once I get out on this route, which I will talk about later, there was the only things out there were these big four-wheel drive trucks carrying supplies to the small villages. And not even really motorbikes. There are motorbikes in the towns, but people aren't really going between towns on those things. It was really just me.
So this is between Kabul and Herat to the west, right? And here's the route.
Yep.
And in between, this is a major road between these two cities, right?
Yeah, when you say major road, you're
as major as it can get.
It is the road. There is a southern road that goes around the mountains, which is a lot longer, through Kandahar, which I ended up taking back. But at the end of the trip, I put the motorbike on a bus. But the central route is really remote and difficult. And in fact, it's funny how I found the route, because I was part of a WhatsApp group for Afghanistan. This is how travelers talk and share intel nowadays. And this guy named Herat, I want to give him some credit, all-terrain overlanders. He and his girlfriend did it on KTM bikes back, I think in December of last year, and he posted a picture in the group. And I immediately messaged him, and I said, hey, I think I'm going to do this. Can you give me some details? And he gave me tons of details, thorough details on how to do the route. Kept warning me how difficult it was. And, you got to have a lot of motorcycle skills, which I give you a little bit about my history, but I don't have a lot of motorcycle skill. And anyways, he was helpful, but we had a miscommunication. He kept telling me that this was an off-road route he took. And I'm thinking, I don't want to go off-road. I want to take the road. I know it's a terrible road and primitive, but I'm thinking, this guy's crazy. He's from Singapore. And I'm like, he and his girlfriend went off-roading. Like, it's already hard to travel in Afghanistan. So I bought a German map before I left that was made last year, and it turned out to be wrong. So the maker, Freitag and Burnt, your map is wrong. And so I ended up it taking this very more difficult route than I needed to. And I was also using Google as well, which sent me the same route as the German map. So I found out later, talking to the guy from Singapore, Haran, that when he said off-road, he meant it was a dirt road.
So not as bad.
So I'm like, if you're off-road, you're off-road. I'm picking on him. You might be watching this, but he was great. We had a bit of a joke about this. But I'm like, dude, off-road means there's not a road. And he's like, I know, but I just refer to it as bad roads.
So you said you plotted this on Google Maps. This is obviously Google Maps, right?
Yep.
But as far as intel goes, why'd you pick up a German map? Like, is that the best intel there is for like how to get around Afghanistan these days, or what?
You'd think so. The Germans you'd think would make a good map, right? And they matched Google. So I wanted two sources. I wanted a paper map, and I Googled. So I'm like, wow, this must be the way to go. And as we go through the trip, you'll hear how difficult it got at points.
So day one of the trip. Well, let's talk about Kabul first. So you flew into Kabul.
Yeah, I flew into Kabul. I got my visa in Dubai, and I flew into Kabul. And this is on top of the major hill in Kabul, and that's the Taliban flag flying over it. And that mosque there is a recreation of the mosque in Jerusalem.
Dome of the Rock.
Yeah, Dome of the Rock. Thank you. And so, so Kabul. If you're American, our tax dollars paid for their Humvees now, and they have them parked around the city to show their power, because they're in control now, Taliban. They don't drive them anywhere. I heard once a year they have a parade on the anniversary when they took over the country again. They take them out. Although I did watch recently an Itchy Boots video. She's a motorcycle traveler. She's in Afghanistan right now, and she did pass one that was moving. So these are everywhere at the checkpoints, but generally don't move anywhere.
Fixed barricades.
Yeah. So this is what Kabul looks like. And you'd be surprised to hear it's really quite modern. When I got on the countryside, it was really primitive. But Kabul, great internet, better internet than you'll get in LA. It's completely open. And I stayed there are several modern Western hotels. I stayed at the Khyber Hotel in the Shari-Na part of town, and great room for, I think, $30, $35 a night. Huge couch, bed, air conditioning, Wi-Fi. And there are proper restaurants and everything. And then this here is some of the market. These are probably, I don't know what era these buildings were built. They look a little colonial. And then if you go to the next, the people were so friendly walking around. This is a rug salesman. I asked if I could take this picture. The boy was happy to show me his rug. The other guy couldn't be bothered from Facebook, I guess. But everyone would walk by. They'd say, "Hello, how are you?" And I'd always try to respond, "Hi, hello, I'm fine. How are you?" It did get a little tiring after a while because I'm always trying to be polite. I get back to the hotel like, I'm tired of saying hello to people. But this guy was a Quran seller. I asked to take his picture. And
all those are Qurans?
Yeah, I think
so. Did
you
buy one?
No, I didn't.
Come on, man. Took a picture of a shop, you couldn't buy one?
No. So they were, and a lot of people had never met an American before and told me they never met an American, those who spoke English. And you'd think that's weird given we were there for 20 years, but apparently our soldiers really didn't leave the base. You know, it was dangerous for them. So they never really got to interact with a real American, and they were very happy to meet me and always nice. I thought maybe someone had their family hit by a drone or something when we were there and be mad at me. If that's the case, it never happened. Everyone was incredibly nice to me.
What's going on here? Go back one.
That was a guy in the street cutting hair. I misunderstood. I thought he gave me permission to take a photo, but after I took it, he kind of waved me off. But it was a wonderful picture, and this guy's just a barber on the street of Kabul.
And then the next one?
This guy is very proud of his goat heads. So he's selling roasted goat heads, boiled, I'm not sure. I didn't buy one. But I asked him if I could take a picture of the goat head, and he not only said yes, but then indicated he wanted to be in the photo. So here he is. Look at him, hands on the belt. He's very proud of his goat heads.
Did you have a meal with goat head in it?
Not here. I've had it in Mongolia, but I didn't eat one here.
So what do you eat off that? The skin, the eyeball?
If it was like it was in Mongolia, then yes, you usually just start picking away at it. It's usually with a few people. You could eat the eyeball.
Yeah?
I did eat the eyeball.
Yes, you did.
The tongue is pretty good too. And the cheeks have the most meat. So,
yeah. Nice. All right, so you got the bike. You got a bike in Kabul for $20 a day.
Yep.
And you took off on your own.
Yes, I did. So by now, no one there wears a helmet, but there was a guy in Kabul selling helmets, and I went and bought one for about $80 because I wasn't going to ride across Afghanistan without a helmet. But everyone, of course, knew I was a foreigner.
How fast did that bike go?
It was very slow. I guess on the paved roads, it would go up to about 80 kilometers an hour, which is 50 miles an hour. But
that's helmet territory.
Yeah, when the roads started to get really difficult, I was doing about, on average, 25, 30 kilometers an hour.
You're okay without a helmet.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes, maybe you're right.
So you got your helmet, you got your bike, and is this your first pass?
Yeah, so these roads are good roads from Kabul to Bamyan. They are paved. And when I say good roads, the traffic is crazy. It took me an hour and a half to get out of Kabul. And then I'm on the main highway for the first part. And I realized very quickly the trucks pull onto my side of the road to pass, coming directly toward me. And it's up to me to get out of their way. So huge truck barreling down, and I have to go on the side of the road and try and stay on the concrete as they just go blowing by me. Of course, trying to keep control of the bike as the wind's blowing me over. And then I turned off on the road to Bamyan, and then it got a lot quieter and just gorgeous. It was the Hindu Kush Mountains, and this was the first pass, but I almost don't count it because the road was paved and pulled off on the shoulder here.
And what do you have loaded up on the back of this bike?
That's my backpack. That's what I travel with. It's a 30-liter, and I strapped it to the back, and I did a very poor job of it because it kept falling off, and till the local Afghans kept feeling sorry for me, and they would strap it down for me after the days after.
Like at the checkpoints, they'd be like, let's fix this.
Yeah, exactly. They'd just be like, and they did such a good job loading it down. I think they broke my computer that was inside. So
you had a computer in there. Were you carrying food for yourself, or?
No. Food, water, fuel was a worry at the beginning, but everyone kept telling me it's no problem, and it was true. Because you go through these small villages, and they have everything you need. There's water there in plastic bottles, or they have purified waters in big containers I could pour. I could get food. And if there might not be a gas station, but they would sell fuel in 1 liter water bottles that I can just pour in.
And how do you negotiate? You know, you're traveling to a village alone, right? Mm-hmm. You don't speak the language.
No.
How do you figure out? Or are you just motioning like I need gas, I need water, I need food?
Exactly. Yeah. And also I had Google Translate because this is the modern world. And out of town, there's not a lot of internet. There was some. So I downloaded, they speak Persian there. It's called Dari. And the Taliban, they speak Pashto. So I had both of those downloaded, and I was able to use that a little bit. You're right, I was using hand motions a lot of the time.
So you just, and again, these villages, no, it's not like you're pulling up to a Chevron.
No.
No AM PM.
No.
You got to figure out who has the 1 liter bottle of gas.
Yep, exactly. And of course, I'm like an alien landing. You know, coming in, they know I'm a foreigner right away with my helmet and my clothes. And so I'd stop, and the meals were a bit meager. I think they mostly cook at home. I was able to get French fries and sometimes palau, which is meat and rice. And the whole village would come out to watch me eat. Hello.
Do you feel like that you ate in a polite way, or do you feel like they were watching you eat and they were judging you?
They were so polite, but yeah, maybe they were judging me. I don't know. They were really
Look
nice.
at this guy shove his face full. He doesn't need to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us about these guys. Some of the first people you met out on the road? Or?
Yes, these people were very nice. So I stopped the pass and they get out, and this happened a lot. The locals would want to take photos with me. So yeah, okay. So we took photos together, and it was funny. I posted this on Facebook, and a friend of mine commented, "Look at you all bundled up while they look all comfortable in their casual clothes." I'm like, I'm on a bike. They were in a car. So yeah, just an example of the welcome and the friendliness I received in Afghanistan.
So this is a selfie from your phone, but were they taking pictures too?
Yeah, they have pictures of me. They wanted their own pictures, and there is pictures of me just with me and my bike and stuff, which I didn't include here as well. Yeah. So this is Bamyan. I arrived in Bamyan. I talked to a few of you tonight who have traveled in Afghanistan in the 70s. So you must have gone here when the Buddhas were still there. Now there's a hole. Yeah, the Taliban destroyed them in the early 2000s because I guess they were an offense to Islam. But the guy who rented me the bike told me another story. I don't think it's true. He said there's supposedly a treasure inside, and that's why they want.
Was it ever found?
Yeah, no treasure. So, yeah, and I guess there are some efforts to rebuild them. I couldn't get a clear answer on it. One of them, they started to redo the feet. And then I guess it stopped when the Taliban took over. They preserved the pieces. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll tell you, Bamyan was a magical town. This was taken from my hotel. It was on a cliff that overlooked the valley. I looked right across it, and it was just the village, the river, the holes where the Buddhas were, and those holes there where the monks used to go pray. And also, I don't know if you know this, but our old member Bob Silver actually lived in one of these for a year. He was traveling in the 70s, and he ran out of money and would have to beg the tourists for food to eat until he got enough money to leave.
In one of those?
In one of those, yeah.
Do you know which one it was?
I don't.
Any pictures?
No.
That would have been cool.
And he's passed, so it's too bad we can't ask him.
I bet if he was here, he could have pointed out, he's like, that one right there.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So this is the city of Screams, and this is also Bamyan. This is a village that was a ruin of I think it was a palace nearby. And of course, from here you can see one of the towers and a view of the valley of Bamyan.
And this is you made it here day one?
This was day one, and I already knew it was going to take me longer to do this trip because on the paved road, Heron, the Singapore couple, told me it would take 2.5 or 3 hours. I think it took me 6. So, anyways,
They've got more motorcycle skills and more motorcycle, right?
More motorcycle, yeah. They had good KTMs. So,
and
anyways,
how many cc's is a KTM?
Pardon me?
How many cc's is a KTM?
I looked it up. I think it was 600 they had.
Versus your 150?
Yeah. And Itchy Boots, who's there now, she didn't do this route, but she did another route. She's got a 600 Honda, I think. I forget what it is. But even she is averaging about 25 kilometers an hour on the road she did. So I don't feel as bad that I was going so slow.
And these people are importing these bikes, obviously. They have their rig, and then they import it somehow.
Yeah, the Heron and the YouTuber I mentioned, Itchy Boots, they are traveling around the world on their own bikes.
I will give you credit. It's a lot more fun to just, parachute in and find a bike and go.
Yep. Yeah. And the local Afghans seem to get a kick out of the fact that I was on a local motorbike. So
this is day 2.
Yeah, so I spent day 2 of the motorcycle ride because I spent 2 nights in Bamyan. And I go to, this is Bamyan. This is where our speaker last week got in trouble. And it's this beautifully blue lake. And it's just absolutely stunning, the color. The pictures really don't even capture it.
Hey,
So,
you got your mask off.
yeah, exactly. So,
You gonna get in trouble?
oh, my mask. Yeah. So for those who are wondering, I don't usually have a beard. I grew the beard for the trip because Taliban rules. Adult men have to have a beard to be in Afghanistan. So, yeah.
So
I got
if you were clean shaven, what would be the repercussions?
Pardon me?
What would be the repercussions if you came to Afghanistan clean shaven?
I don't know. I think probably not a lot, honestly. Who knows? They could have fined me. Maybe they can give me a little trouble. I mean, they're not going to do anything terrible. I'm not going to be in jail or shot or something, but it might have made things a little difficult for me.
And so back to this. This is a year-round lake?
Yeah, it's there year-round, and they even have boats available you could rent there. And this is where the road starts to get a little rough. I'm off the paved road a bit to go to the lake, and still getting used to the bike and still getting my off-road skills. I've never owned a motorbike. I got my license in 2013, and I got it for adventures like this, so I go long periods without riding. And before this trip, I was earlier this year in Côte d'Ivoire, and I rented a motorbike for the first time probably years, and it kind of re-sparked the passion in me for motorbikes and gave me the idea to do Afghanistan this way. But I went to an off-road motorcycle course in Wales for a weekend in April before I did this trip, and it was helpful. But I'll tell you, the course was mild compared to what I ended up running into in Afghanistan.
Pretty slippery roads, huh?
Well,
Lots of sand.
lots of sand, rocks, steep passes up and down, sheer cliffs on the side. So I left, so I saw the lake. I did not stay the night there, and then I stayed the night in a place called Yakalong. And this was, Yakalong's the end of the paved road, and this was where the real adventure begun.
All right.
So the sun rises there at 4:30 in the morning. By 5:30, I was on my motorbike, and I had to get to Changcharan. This was a 10-hour day. And this was the first major pass on the dirt road. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. I thought if the bike couldn't make it up, I would just turn around and go back. But I made it, obviously. And boy, this pass, the last village I was in, these two young Afghan boys stopped me and kind of told me, like, in other words, go slow. And this was uphill, sheer cliffs on my side, sand, ruts. There were a couple four-wheel drive trucks going through, definitely no cars. And at the very top, I first tried to do it in second gear, and I stalled out. So I had to do a recovery, which I'll turn the bike around on the side of a mountain, go back down, and then tried it again in first gear. Still didn't make it. So then I had to turn around and realize I needed more speed, which meant controlling the bike in the sandy rut. So I got down farther, get up some speed. The bike's all over the place, slipping and sliding in the sand, and I finally made it over the pass. And then it's downhill from there. As I'm sitting there, and I dropped the bike a couple of times too, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm at a 12,000-foot pass in Afghanistan by myself trying to get a motorbike over this thing, and I'm like, I must be nuts.
Did you get video of that? Where's the video of that?
So I know all of you are used to YouTubers filming everything, but I took all these pictures with my phone, which was in my pocket, and obviously I can't film myself as I'm struggling over a 12,000-foot pass.
Someone needs to
I'm
buy
sorry.
you a GoPro. Put that on your Amazon list, man. So tell us about this little area here.
So I had to cross that. One of the bridges was out, and this is typical of the kind of things I had to deal with. I had to ford rivers, up and down more passes that day. And
So did you go over that bridge?
I went over that bridge on the motorbike, yeah. And then took a picture of it afterwards. And yeah, the locals were all staring at me, and of course I'm going over it very slow. I think a lot of more experienced motorcyclists, if they're watching this, would probably laugh at my skills, but I made it. And my goal was to make it, so I went very slow. And
You look
went
straight
over
ahead,
these
right?
things.
Don't look at the water on every side. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, when you ride a motorbike, where you look is where it's going. So you got to use the force, and go where you're going.
Did you think that you might have eaten it into that little stream?
Not. I was a little worried, but there was actually later in the next day, which I'll talk about, where I was on a hillside, or basically a small cliff, where the path for the bike was as wide as the bike. And there was a drop here, maybe of about 30 feet. And I see tracks, so I know other motorbikes are going through there. The locals probably do it with no problem. And I'm like, I don't even have enough room to put my feet down and kind of walk the bike across. So I'm like, I just got to go for it. And as I said, I just said, well, I'm going to look where I'm going, and I'm going to trust the force, like a Star Wars reference. And I just made it across.
You ever driven a bike up into a truck on a ramp? It's kind of like that, right?
Yes.
It's not hard. Plenty of room, right? It's
Right.
just like there's zero error, right? If there's an error, you fall off. You fall down a 30-foot cliff, or you fall into the water and everybody laughs at you or whatever.
30-foot cliff, I think. Something more serious than people laughing at me would happen. But yeah, exactly. Anyway, so that's what happened the next day. So I eventually made it to Shangcharan. This was a long 10-hour days, and I was exhausted because this is a bridge
There was some traffic, huh?
used by the goats and the other motorbikes. So you can see this guy on the left on the motorbike gets very frustrated at one point. So I made it here. I had to pick up a permit for Jom, even though Jom is still, 100 kilometers away. And I was exhausted because when you're on a little bike, there's not much suspension. I'm the suspension. It's my shoulders, my legs, my back.
Right.
Anyways, so I stayed the night there, and then began the hardest day. This was a 12-hour day. And this is where, if I had I didn't know it, but there was a better route where the text is.
Straight?
Yeah.
You could have just gone straight?
I could have just gone straight. Not that it was a good paved road or anything, but so I ended up going.
So when you made that left turn, though, you didn't consider going straight?
Nope. Because this was, from what I could see, was the main road too. I don't know. I don't understand. I never went the other way. I never will. So it's hard to compare notes. But this was more of the difficulty of the previous day, up and down passes, but really gorgeous landscape, small villages, Hindu Kush Mountains. Toward the end, I got off the main road a little bit, and it just basically the road disappeared into tracks across sandy steppe. There were several dogs that chased me for a while on my motorbike, and I ended up going through canyons with some steep rocks before I hit another road. And by this time, I'd been going for 9 hours, and I was thinking of staying the night in this one town and splitting this day up and not going all the way to the Minaret that day. But I pressed on, anyways. And so the last bits in the Minaret. The road was a lot skinnier, steep cliffs, and started going through these very small villages along this river. And the road deteriorated into the path I was describing before, only as wide as the bike. Some of it was on the side of a cliff, some of it was through these towns. The locals would always stare at me. Some kids started chasing me at one point, yelling at me and teasing me. I had to ford several rivers, so I was getting my feet wet, streams. And the last 2 kilometers to the Minaret, I was in a riverbed. I mean, a full-on riverbed. I didn't even see where the road was anymore. That's what it looked like. So go forward one more photo, please. That was one of the canyons I had to go through. You can see what the road looks like here that day. And this is what I had to deal with, up and down. I know the pictures really don't capture it. As I said, it's exhausting as well. That was one of the places stop to rest. I've been on the road for, I think, 10 hours at this point.
What's the temperature right there when you're taking that break?
Not too bad, probably about 75. So
Yeah.
I was still at high altitude. And this was one of the places.
But
that
a lot
I
of
thought to take a
exposure,
break.
a lot of sun exposure.
A lot of exposure. I was wearing my, I didn't have any protective gear except for my raincoat. Now, this is the last part I was started to describe. This was the riverbed I'm in. You can see there's no road. There's just a
You
riverbed.
can see the minaret in the distance there.
Oh, that felt so good to see. Yeah. So
And that's
basically,
just there in the middle of nowhere, huh?
yeah.
That's crazy.
So I would get it to go about 4 feet and then stall, 4 feet and then stall. And that was how difficult this was. But I knew I was almost there.
Is this kickstart? You say
no.
stall like
No, electric
Okay.
starter. Really
really taxing that battery, huh?
Yeah, I mean the bike was holding up. I did it. You'll see at the end they did a lot of damage to it, but the brakes were working and the starter was working. It was going. And then now I'm further on. I made it to the minaret, and as you can see to the right of the minaret, there's a flood wall because this river I'm in becomes a real river at some point, and farther ahead is the Herat River, which is full at this point, which you'll see later I had to cross. And so I'm here, and I'm like, how do I get into the minaret? There's a flood wall here. So I go all the way to the end, and I can't figure out how to get in. There's no one around. So I come back, and I just park the bike in the river, and I walk up, and I climb up the wall and in. And there were 2 Taliban guards in there, basically like, where did you come from? And they were really nice. And so they didn't speak any English. We were using Google Translate. And I was telling them my bike was outside, how do I get it in? And the guy eventually showed me the path, which was not even a path. I mean, it was just like a tire rut. And I managed to get it into the area. And then I'm like, hey, I heard there might be a hotel around here. Where do I stay the night? And they're telling me it's over the river. And I'm like, I can see the river's full. So I'm like, well, screw that, I guess. And I heard some people would sleep at with the guards at the station. So I asked if I could sleep there. And the guy's telling me, no, go across the river. I'm like, how am I going to get across the river? There was a pulley there, which you'll see in a second. And it's taking people across. And this guy, I think he's telling me, will also take my bike across. But I don't understand.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
I think we have a video of this going across.
Yeah,
right?
so before you show the video, the guy starts telling me there's a road on the other side. And this was the road that's missing from the German map. And I don't understand because I don't see a road. Do you see a road there? I see.
Yeah, kind of up to the right.
That's
trail.
a path. That's a trail. Yeah. So anyways, the guy starts getting insistent in a polite way. And they basically load my bike onto the pulley. And they started across. And with my bag on, I'm thinking I should have taken my bag off first because I'm more worried about losing the bag than the bike. And I still don't know what's going to happen on the other side. So you can show the video now of the bike going across. So once the bike gets there, the guys on the other side, they take it off, and he rides it up that path to the top. I'm like, maybe the road's up there, but I still don't see a road because to the left there's a rather large cliff I could see. And I'm still not understanding what the guards are trying to tell me. So after this, I go on the pulley.
Yeah, they got it down. They got it figured out.
Yep, they knew exactly what they were doing.
This is not the first rodeo.
Yeah. So, Phoebe, if you could show the video of the guy going across next.
We got to get you a GoPro.
Yeah, so this isn't me. I can't film myself going across. So this was one of the locals coming across. That's how I went across. And if you go to the next photo, I still don't know where this supposed road is. They've now attached a rope to the back of my back tire of my bike, and they've lowered it down the cliff to the left. Oh, yeah. So let's talk about the minaret for a bit.
So this minaret, you can get to this minaret with a truck or a car or something, right? It's just you just came at it from a really weird angle. That's kind of like where we're at right now.
Yep. You could get there with a 4x4 at the main road.
Because this is a UNESCO World Heritage site.
Yep.
And they got guards, and there's a little town, there's a hotel, so.
Yeah. Well, just
So there is a
hotel.
better way to approach it, but that's fine.
Yeah, so they are building a new hotel there, but it's not open. So, but I'll get to that later. So you can see how remote this is. I mean, look, it's in the middle of nowhere, and it was really stunning being there. And of course, it's very late in the day by now. And then you can go to the next photo. I made some friends. So just to the left, the guy with the big beard and the black turban, he was the Taliban guard who really helped me out. So these are all Taliban. And I know it seems crazy. I posted this on Facebook, and my cousin gives me pause. The next time I see her, I'm going to have to ask what she meant by that, because does she think I joined the Taliban? But it's odd because, of course, we had our issues in the U.S. with them, but every time I dealt with them, they were just darling. I mean, there were checkpoints all over the country. I would be stopped quite frequently. They would take my passport, they would take my permit, and then they'd usually offer me tea afterwards. They were really polite. And so, anyways, I got this picture with them. I heard of it, not supposed to take pictures with the Taliban, but they were more than happy to be in my photo.
Nice.
So anyways, next photo, if you could. I told you my bike got lowered down a cliff, and there it is, and I still don't see a road. So another guy now is helping me. I climbed down this cliff with him, and he's basically telling me I got to help him carry my bike over a bunch of rocks. And so we did that, and then about 50 yards later, I see the road. Oh, there's a road here. That's what he meant. Okay, it's not on the German map. So there was a medical clinic and a new hotel which hadn't been open yet. When I say new hotel, it's like not a big one. So now it's the end of the day. It's about sunset, and I go into the medical clinic. They give me tea. They give me water, and they say there's a guest house up the road. I got to ride 10 minutes into the canyon now, basically after dark. So 12 hours in, I got 10 more minutes of riding to go, and I get up, and you can go to the next photo now. And this is the guest house. So this is where the trucks stop, and they put me up for the night, and they were delighted to have me. Like I said, not many foreigners get here. They served me palau, which is the meat and rice I mentioned earlier. God, did I need that. I mean, I was just 12 hours of riding. And they put me up for the night. If you go to the next one, you can see what kind of room I had. It was a carpeted floor. They gave me a blanket and a pillow, which I'm sure have never been washed. I had the whole room to myself. I think this was supposed to sleep quite a few guys, but anyways, they gave it to me. And if you go to the video next.
This is all very accommodating, though, because if you look at it from their perspective, this guy shows up like over there somewhere. This is not how you get here. With his motorbike, like on the trail, right?
Yep.
The back road in. And then they've got to haul your ass across this river.
Yep.
And then they got to lift your bike up and down the cliff and across the rocks and everything like that, just to get you back.
Yes.
Because you came from over here.
Yep.
Think of the stories they must tell. Let me tell you about this guy. He just appeared just over there somewhere. He just wandered over the hill.
Yeah. What
and
an
then
idiot.
his bike was over there. He had a bike over there. We had to get his bike. It took forever. Very accommodating of you.
I kept them entertained for months. They're probably still talking about me. Yeah.
Yeah, remember that guy that just walked in from...
Yeah, so this is a video of the room I was in, just a short one to show you what it looked like. I slept well that night, yeah. Anyway, so I stayed the night there, and go to the next photo. And then, which is going to be a map of now I can start heading toward Herat, which is the city in the west. And
So this little piece in the top right, that's getting off that main road sort of and going up to Jam.
That's after. This is after Jam. This is the road that should have been on the German map. And so the blue is what Google Maps was suggesting me, which was kind of to go back the way I came. So fortunately, I rode along that road, and it was. I decided to only do 55 miles this day. But I was exhausted, so I think I rode for a little bit, and then I found a nice shade tree to take a nap under for a while. And this day was only 8 hours to go 55 miles, including the stops too. And eventually ended up. So this is what some of the road looks like. Again, just up and down these paths and these roads, and the only other thing out there are these 4x4 trucks.
How often are you passing someone on this road?
I guess about every 15, 20 minutes, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah. By this point, I'm feeling pretty good. I made it to the Minaret. I know the bike's going to make it all the way. And then, so I stayed the night at the guest house in Chest-e-Sharif. And then the last day was to Herat. I had the map, the wrong German map, told me the last 100 kilometers would be paved. It was not. What it was they are going to pave it, and they had started putting in these concrete pipes so that the water could run underneath the highway but didn't fill in the top. So every few hundred yards of running in one of these concrete pipes have to go off the highway with all the cars and the trucks and then back on. And then the last 30 kilometers to Herat, it was paved finally, and I was so happy. And then this sandstorm started, a really bad sandstorm. And I was like, I should probably pull over, but I really want to finish this. So I just closed the visor to my helmet and slowed down to 15 kilometers an hour and did the last 30 kilometers in the sandstorm before I finally made it to Herat.
That's quite a trip.
Yes, yeah. So this is a friend of mine I ran into in Afghanistan. This is my friend Jennifer. She's from Hong Kong. We met in Mongolia in 2017, and I mentioned earlier there was a WhatsApp group where travelers are sharing information.
Right.
I saw her in there, and I said, "Are you going to be in Afghanistan?" She said, "Yes," and it turned out we were in Herat on the same day. So we met up, and we walked around that day. She was traveling by herself. She was just taking the shared taxis and went all over Afghanistan, hitching rides and taking shared taxis, and she did quite well. So we went to a burqa store together. So I'm sorry about this photo. She had her eyes closed.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. But the guy at the burqa store was so happy to let her try on a bunch of burqas and get photos. So we had fun at the burqa store.
There's a guy that runs the burqa store?
Yep.
How does that work?
I don't know. I guess
you need a new burqa.
I mean, I don't know generally if people try them on there. I don't know. We'd have to find out. There is a guy from Afghanistan here in the audience, so maybe he knows the answer to that. But yeah, and I get questions a lot about the women in Afghanistan. So it's not great, but what you hear in the media is not true either, that they can't go out of the house, etc. So I did see women out. Some of them have burqas on. Some did not. Some just had their face uncovered. When I went to get my SIM card, there was a woman who worked at the cell company, and she spoke perfect English. I had to buy an air ticket later, and there was a woman who worked at the airline who also spoke perfect English. In the small villages, I did see girls going to school. They were very cute with their UNICEF backpacks. And I understand they can go to school till they're 12. In Bamyan, there is a school where they can go longer, and I walked past that school, so I saw girls of high school age going to that school there.
Did you feel like that whole situation was kind of in flux right now?
Yeah, and a few people told me that the Taliban send their daughters to school in Pakistan, that they're breaking the rules. So while the regular population has to abide by these rules, the Taliban were privileged. And I have to say that as far as conditions, the Taliban in power now is more lenient than the one that was there 25 years ago, so I hear. There was some music. As I said, the internet's good and open. There were many restaurants and ice cream parlors that I went into where they had a television on showing music videos. And the guy who rented me the motorbike told me that I asked, will they cut off your hand if you steal something? And he said, they don't do that anymore. The old Taliban regime did that. But he did tell me a story that his cousin, that people are dating there secretly. It's not allowed. And that his cousin was caught on a date with a girl. They were on a first date. and the Taliban forced them to get married.
Did you notice any difference between Kabul and Herat? Any cultural differences, like Taliban enforcement or anything like that? Like, was it regional at all, or was it the same? Did it feel the same everywhere you went?
I'm told that Herat is more tolerant, but wasn't able to feel that myself. There were a couple women guides there, actually, whom I was put in touch with. Actually, I think it was the same one that our speaker last week met up with. But when I contacted them by WhatsApp, they weren't available. They were leading other tours, so I was hoping to do a tour around the town with them.
What was the vibe outside the cities? Because that's where you spent most of your time, right?
So there were women kind of around, but I didn't see them as much. There were definitely more burqa wearing out there. As I said, I saw the young girls going to school even in the small villages. The vibe, it didn't affect me. As I said, they really paid a lot of attention to me coming to town. I was a spectacle. But as far as tolerance, things like that, I wasn't able to see. There weren't places that had TVs or the type of places that would have had the TVs. No restaurants, no ice cream parlors. So I don't know if they were able to have music or anything like that out there.
So when you did get, you didn't bring your own food. You ate places. Mm-hmm. You didn't eat at restaurants. Describe that experience.
So some places did have a place where I could eat. You'd sit on the carpet and they'd feed you palau. But a lot of these small towns, they just seem to have French fries. And I would go in and I would try to figure out, and you sit on the floor and they give me some French fries wrapped up in paper, and that would be my lunch for the day. Often.
Was everybody eating French fries, or did you see anybody else eating French fries?
Yeah, they were all eating French fries. And I think, and maybe someone from Afghanistan would explain this, but I tend to think they eat at home, and maybe the French fries was the junk food snack that people would get in town. Because I didn't see a proper restaurant, and they didn't, with all my signing, no one directed me to one. All these stores sold junk food, though. So in all these places, there was wrapped up cakes and cookies and potato chips. So I was able to eat that too if there wasn't a French fry place.
So you got palau and French fries.
Yep.
That was basically that's interesting.
Yeah, that was my diet. Yeah.
But nothing, but you passed on the goat's head.
That was in Kabul, yes. Yeah, it was. I guess I could have brought one with me, maybe mounted it on the front of the bike.
So this guy comes out of the middle of nowhere back there, and he's got a goat head on the front of his bike.
Yeah, I think they'd run at that point, yeah.
Well, what a trip. Do you want to open up to questions? I'm sure there's many questions in the audience.
Sure.
This is you loading it back. You took a tour bus. I can't believe it.
No, it's not a tour bus. It's a regular bus. So to get the bike back to Kabul, there's a long proper road that goes through the south. It's sort of paved. It goes around the mountains. So to get back to Kabul, I basically put my bike on this bus and took it back to Kabul.
And that's the commuter route, so to speak.
The commuter route, yeah, 22 hours, I think, yeah.
22 hours on that bus with that bike. There it is.
So that's what it looked like at the end.
Looks the same.
There was a lot of damage, and the guy who ran the tour company that rented it to me was really nice. I said I'd pay for all of it, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. That's why we got it. But Phoebe, if you go ahead, they sent me an invoice, and it's about $50, and you can see everything wrong with it. There was a thing that held my iPhone that broke off. I bent the handlebars. The brakes were all screwed up. The shifter, the right, the brake is on the right on the motorbike by the foot. That got bent up. And so anyways, he sent this to me by WhatsApp. And as I told him before, I said, I'm happy to pay for this. Give me the PayPal information. And they never sent it. So Tariq, if you're watching this, I'm still happy to pay for the damage to the bike, so just send me the PayPal.
Doesn't WhatsApp have like a pament thing in there?
Not that I know of.
Oh, I thought they did. I don't know.
No.
All right, let's open it up to questions.
Yeah,
I'm sure we got
you said there were a number of places along this trail you went where it was just wide enough for your 150cc bike. Did your friends from Singapore take a different route? Because they're on 600cc bikes, or were they the same route that you were on?
They were on a different route. So that was what I was saying, that they gave me this route that probably was better. But I didn't take it because he kept telling me it was off-road. And I don't want to go off-road, you know? But in the end, they ended up going kind of off-road, I suppose. So.
Okay, good.
The route he gave you is like this beautifully graded, fresh DG.
It's I-5, yeah.
Mark, a few decades ago, when I was there, the main shopping street in Kabul was called Chicken Street. How is it now?
Oh, yeah, so I walked through Chicken Street, yes, and it's an active street. It's a market. It probably hasn't changed that much since you were there. There's probably the only thing that changed were the things being sold. Everyone's got a smartphone. They were selling smartphone and smartphone cases, things like that. But it's still there. There's still the bird market. And then there's also a weapons market called the Bush Market, named after President Bush. But they don't sell weapons anymore. They sell military gear other than armaments. But apparently if you went there 10 years ago, you could buy Kalashnikovs there.
Very cool.
So I want to ask about the other half of eating. Years ago, I was married to a Peace Corps volunteer, and she said in training, and Peace Corps volunteers talk over and over about the criticality of good bowel movements and how it's related to your diet when traveling. And as I aged, they're right. But eating this sort of what you get when you find it, did you, or have you hit the age where you don't need as much regular, consistent input?
So you want me to talk about my bowel movements on YouTube?
This is a key part of travel. This is
Sounds
real
like a lot of
information.
French fries, right? Like,
Yes, I was regular, if that's what you want to know. But I have to say, after I finished the motorbike ride, I went and got ice cream and got a bit of an upset tummy. I had to take some medicine for it, and so it went away. And just to show how smart I was, I then went and got some more ice cream and got sick again.
I'd do that. I like ice cream.
First of all, what an amazing story. I got to do something like this in the Peruvian Andes on a 50cc motorcycle. So
Wow.
What you're saying I can definitely relate to in terms of just trying to get these things over places they really shouldn't be going. The route that I took was similarly super back roady, and we were warned ahead of time. Essentially, that's where they grow the coca. So it's all very narco. And I know in Afghanistan, opium used to be a really big deal as well. So before you set out, especially into super remote regions, were you aware of or were you told certain things you shouldn't do or shouldn't take photos of, anything of that nature?
No. There was no place I was told not to go. And in everyone I asked. So I guess as recently as a year ago, there was some region you couldn't go to because of rebel activity. But I asked the guy who rented me the motorbike and several other Afghanis if there's any places I should avoid. I didn't even think of the narco stuff that you brought up. And they said, no, you can go everywhere. It's perfectly safe, no problem.
Is opium production still a thing over there, or?
I don't know. I'd forgotten about that. He brought that up. I didn't even think about that at all on my
From
trip.
what I understand, with the Taliban, it's always been kind of a love-hate relationship, opium being not cool versus being profitable. So what's
I don't know. I just didn't ask about it.
No.
If I had remembered about that, I probably would have asked, but it never came up.
Interesting.
Dr. Bernie, Herat, 1063. Did you see any of the Taliban or many of the Taliban packing weapons?
Yeah, everywhere. So they all had their machine guns, and whenever I dealt with them, they were all armed. But it never bothered me. I knew this is what was to be expected. They were all, as I said, they were always polite. There was one time in Kabul where I was taking photos. One guy tapped me on the shoulder and asked what I was taking photos of. He took me back to the checkpoint. He went through my phone a bit, and he said, "Oh, these are fine." And then he asked me where I was going. I told him I was going to get lunch, and he recommended a restaurant. There was also when I was staying in one of the small towns, Yakalang, similar to what happened to the speaker last week. I had the Taliban come by twice when I was trying to get to sleep, and with a bunch of people and guns, and asked me for information. But it was more of an annoyance, and I'm just standing there in my underwear and showed them my permit, and then they went away.
One more here.
What was your very favorite thing? And would you go back? And what would you change besides that route if you were to go back?
So my favorite part really was the minaret and the whole experience around that. Even though it was really hard to, I mean, it's just so beautiful and so remote, and it was the object of my quest. And I was there and taking the bike across on the pulley, and the Taliban being so helpful to me and everything. Would I go back? I don't have any plans, so I feel like I've done it. But if I did go back, as I said, I've been watching Itchy Boots on YouTube, and she took a different road. She went up the Kunduz from Bamyan on what looks like an equally amazing road. I mean, a lot of the scenery was similar, but it just looks like a lot of fun. Beautiful mountains, beautiful canyons, and equally as challenging on the motorbike.
Over here. Lou?
You keep referring to the permit that you had. That wasn't a visa. What was it, and did you have to, was that a permit for the whole trip and just have a description, or was it a one-time thing, or many parts?
So in addition to the visa, you got to go to the Ministry of Tourism in Kabul and get a permit for each province you got to go through. I think there are 34. I asked for all of them, which I understand is a lot of tourists, because I didn't know exactly where I was going or what I was doing. So, and it was very easy. I went there, I showed up, I gave them my passport. I think it was free. And they had it to me in less than an hour. And that was what they wanted to see. There was also an additional permit I had to get to go to the Minaret, and that was in Chengcharan. And why I left at 5:30 in the morning, because I wanted to get there before the permit office closed. And then when I was in, where was it? Mazar, which was after the motorcycle part in the north. There were I visited Bactria, where Bactria was, Balkh it was called, and Rumi's house, and there you also needed a permit from the Ministry of Tourism.
I think you had a picture of that, right?
Yeah, it's toward the end.
Is this another heritage site?
This was the first.
Right, this is Kabul, right?
Yeah.
But all the way to the end, you had the picture of Rumi's.
Yeah, so Phoebe, the last two pictures, that's Balkh. So that's all that's left of it. So you've probably heard there are two types of camels. There's a dromedary and a Bactrian. Bactrians come from an empire that used to exist called Bactria. This was Bactria, and this is all that's left of it is this wall. I'm sure if you dug into here, you'd find more. It's now called Balkh. And so I went out there. It was very windy, which is why it was so hazy. And also near there, in the next photo, is where the poet Rumi was born. This was his house. He was born here in 1207.
Super cool. Thank you so much for sharing. I've been to Afghanistan a few times, and I love when Westerners go to Afghanistan and can share firsthand the incredible hospitality and kindness and curiosity of Afghanistan. Question, how long was this trip? How long did it take you on the motorcycle? How much time did you spend total?
So the motorcycle, I was 8 days. One of those days was a full day in Bamyan, so I don't know if I count that since I wasn't moving. But yeah, basically, so I guess 6-7 days to get across on that route. I mean, really, I didn't go far. I went 600 miles. It was so slow. But I was in Afghanistan in total for 2.5 weeks. So the motorcycle trip was the first half of it.
Do you have another question?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm so curious, how much, aside from your flight to get there, did you spend for those 10 days?
It was really cheap. So Kabul, I think I was paying $35 a night for that hotel, that nice one. And then meals were a few dollars each. Really, really cheap. The motorbike was $20 a day to rent it. In Herat, after I finished the motorcycle ride, I stayed in a fancy hotel for, I think, $60 a night. But otherwise, very, very inexpensive. The visa was a little pricey. I think it was $170 I paid in Dubai for it. Otherwise, once you're there, it's really cheap. Oh, it's pretty much it's all cash there. You got to carry everything. They don't take credit card anywhere. There is one ATM in Kabul that works for a very high fee, but mostly you got to show up with dollars or euros and change them on the street.
How much did you show up with?
I had, I think, $1,500 with me in cash.
Nice.
No one's going to steal from me there. No one's going to steal from it. You are incredibly safe.
And when you say you stayed in an incredibly nice hotel for $60 a night, what are we talking about? Like, give us a, if we go downtown LA, what are you staying in?
Oh, I don't know. Probably the Hilton.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the lobby wasn't so nice, but the room itself. I mean, just sparkling clean. 2 large, comfy beds, a huge bathroom, hot shower. Just wonderful. There was a spa in the hotel. I thought about getting a massage. And there was a gym, too, which I definitely did not need at that time. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Mark. This has been great. This is a fantastic program. Great adventure.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. As a reminder, we do this every Thursday night. We've got great speakers like Marc Weitz and former president coming back to tell us stories of his continued adventures. So thank you for being here again.
Thank you.
But we'll see you next week.